Brilliance Audio presents Elven Winter by Bernhard Hennen, translated by Edwin Miles, performed by Michael Page. They will try to kill the Queen. The tall young elf woman looked at Olwain in disbelief. She seemed to think his words were a poor joke. A smile played on her lips, but vanished again when he made no sign of returning it. Olwain knew well how monstrous his declaration must have sounded. Among the people, Emerelle was the ruler, beloved by all. She was the personification of all that was good, the devoted queen of the Alban kin. Yet there had already been 2 attempts on her life. "Find a place to hide, somewhere you can observe the crow's nests of the ships around the Queen's Liburna. The moment you see anything suspicious, shoot. The slightest hesitation could mean Emerelle's death." The woman stepped to the edge of the terrace and looked down over the city on the harbour. Vahan Khalid lay on a wide, rocky bay at the end of a tongue of land. It was the largest city on the Woodmere, although few of the Alban kin actually lived there. The palace towers, rising proudly above the simple houses, were rarely occupied. Once every 28 years, the princes of Albanmark gathered in Vahan Khalid to celebrate the Festival of Light together. Then, for a few weeks, the city roused itself from its perpetual sleep. Every even halfway important clan maintained at least one house in the town, although most of the time it stood empty. And while the princes of the Alban kin vied to outdo each other with the splendour of their palace towers, it counted for little more than vain trumpery, and mattered only for a few short weeks every 28 years. The rest of the time, the spacious streets were the domain of the stalking fiddler crabs that strayed into Vahan Khalid from the nearby mangrove marshes. The crabs far outnumbered the servants and the holds who tended Vahan Khalid, and led an even more leisurely life. Then there were the hummingbirds, terns, and trollfinger spiders that built their nests beneath the eaves of the palaces and lived virtually unmolested for generations, until once again the Festival of Light approached. Then thousands of visitors came to the harbourside town and filled its streets, and the fiddler crabs were boiled in enormous copper kettles and haggled for on every street corner. Vahan Khalid spilled over with life when, as today, the night of nights grew near and the most imposing ships of Albanmark assembled in the harbour. It was a festival of vanity, a festival at which the princes put their power and wealth on display for one another. Silwina turned back to Olwain. She wore her hair combed back and woven into a long braid, which made her angular face look even more strict. The huntress was esteemed as one of the best archers in all of Albanmark, but what mattered more to the swordmaster was that she was discreet, and even more importantly, he knew that if she were on his side, then she would serve no other master that night. At least, that is what he hoped. Silwina was one of the Maurowan. Her roots lay with the elven folk who lived far in the north, in the inhospitable forests of the Slanger Mountains. The Maurowan elves were seen as unpredictable and sly, and most of them made no secret of their contempt for Emerelle and the pomp and ceremony of her royal court. "What you are asking me to do is impossible," said Silwina calmly, and her eyes scanned the wide harbour once again. More than 150 large ships lay at anchor at the quays. A veritable forest of masts jutted skyward above the waters, and the curious were already clambering up the rigging in search of the best viewpoint for the great festival.